the only way this could be so incompetent was if there was some kind of grift where somebody was getting paid.
Or how about this? I think, especially in the caucuses, we'll see it more in these weirder state voting things. I think we'll see it because a better way to rig things, don't alter votes. So just make it so there's chaos and people don't trust the vote. Because then you just have to win the narrative and you'll win the vote. Like I said, it doesn't matter who won Iowa. Pete is surging. It doesn't matter who wins these states necessarily. It's not like you're getting dropped a bomb that changes the campaign delegate-wise for winning the primary. Especially, guess what? If they do this in enough states and they can get to the convention, and at the convention, they have sown enough confusion, they've sown enough chaos, it is somewhat contested, and they don't come, that's when they already have pre-set up the backup plan of superdelegates. They said if the first original vote at the convention, there's no consensus, superdelegates come back into play. Great way to get to that point. Have a bunch of votes no one feels like they can trust. Have multiple states people are like, oh, you can't trust the results. Who knows who won? They're probably lying. The software didn't work. You just keep doing that so it doesn't matter who wins the vote anymore and you just win the narrative. And they're going to put the narrative behind it. It looks like Pete Buttigieg, but that's only... I think right now, Pete Buttigieg is going to be basically a sacrificial blade to swipe at everybody. So when the big boss comes in, Michael Bloomberg on Super Tuesday, they're already moving things around. What do you think the super delegate thing is? Hey, what's a great way to get Bloomberg those delegates he couldn't get in the states he didn't even bother running in? Why don't we just get to the convention? Now bring super delegates back and just dumping them on them. It seems like everything is unfolding from Michael Bloomberg. Tom Perez by himself unilaterally declaring they're going to remove the donor threshold, which doesn't matter to anyone because obviously if you're still running for president in February of 2020, you have a lot of individual donors.
Yeah.
It only makes it so Michael Bloomberg can go on the debate stage without ever accepting one donation. And then on top of that, I wonder who approves the questions on the debate. For some reason, Michael Bloomberg, this billionaire just deciding to run for president, who they're bending rules for some reason, moderators on the debate stage bring up his platform and ask other candidates to debate it on the stage when he isn't even there. Like, how can we make Michael Bloomberg look like a legit candidate? Well, let's bring the ghost of Bloomberg on the debate stage, and then we'll have the real one next time. I don't know. It's looking more and more like they want none of these states to matter until Bloomberg's running, and then I guarantee you we'll stop seeing all this stuff.
So it's kind of like...
If the fix is in, that's what we'll see. I can't guarantee the fix is in. If the fix is in, you will notice all this nonsense with faulty apps and bad software and, well, we're going to re-canvass because we don't know. All that nonsense is going to end when Michael Bloomberg's winning Super Tuesday states, and the campaign will go, wow, looks like people want Michael Bloomberg because we have to change things for him now.
All right. So it's kind of like when the mafia shows up and like, yeah, it's a nice store you got here, you know? I mean, it'd be a shame to see, you know, your family's hard work just go out the door, and then that night it's like, you know, attacked and vandalized, and, you know, and then they come in the next day and like, you need our protection now, don't you?
Well, no, it's more like when you're competing. It'd be more like if you were competing in something, say you're competing in like a bike race, right? And you work as hard as you can, you do everything right. The first few ones, there was like a controversial photo finish, like, did I win? And then you find out the mafia had already decided they were going to give all the money to this guy. It didn't really matter what anyone did. That's what's going to happen on Super Tuesday. When all of a sudden, we'll realize, why was there all this confusion in these caucus states? How come in Iowa, I guarantee you on Super Tuesday, we'll be like, yeah, who did win Iowa, right? I think in Nevada, people will say, oh yeah, but there's all that controversy in Nevada. It's like, why are they trying to delegitimize the outcome of all these states Michael Bloomberg isn't running in? Gee, I don't know. Maybe it's because they want Michael Bloomberg to do better. So the states he isn't running can delegitimize the results, which is what's happening before our eyes.
Dude,
they keep doing
genius.
it. They keep delegitimizing how we view these. So New Hampshire's important. If New Hampshire does come on without a hitch and there isn't any shenanigans, I mean, like, honestly, if Bernie Sanders doesn't win New Hampshire, either Bernie Sanders is struggling big time or their shenanigans. And I say this because New Hampshire and Vermont are basically the same state with a line drawn down the middle. Like, they literally neighbor each other and
there's
are roughly the same size.
It's literally just a river that divides the two.
That should be home turf for Bernie. I don't know if there's weird local disputes between the two states, not that I'm aware of. I haven't heard of them. So he should be doing well there, right? But what happens if we're getting to the end of these first four states? Because I think Tom Steyer is going to do well in South Carolina in a kind of fluke performance. And we've had 4 votes. By the way, Bloomberg on 0 of the 4 ballots. And all we have to say for it is, everything's still up in the air. Who knows what to trust? The results are bunk. Who does that benefit but the guy who wasn't running? He's the only person to benefit. You can say it benefits Pete, but I don't really know if it does. I don't think Pete has legs. I don't think he can win an election. But all I know is Michael Bloomberg, the guy who's literally doing the thing everyone's afraid of happening. He's only campaigning in like New York and Texas and California and Florida. He's the only going to those states. That guy is actually poised to potentially walk into this. So I really hope it's not what actually happens. But man, the more I look at this, the more I'm trying to think, what's the point in all this? Why does it seem like they're going out of their way to make all of these early states basically not matter?
Yeah.
Well, there's one guy who isn't running in all those states, and I wonder if that's the reason.
Well, dude, because he's basically doing the equivalent of a hostile takeover of a corporation. He's like
came in at their weakest.
Yeah, you know, when a company IPOs, which means basically goes from being the family-owned and operated company that's really big to being a company that's publicly traded, that has stocks and so on and so forth, they go from being a private company to being a publicly traded company, meaning that you can invest money in their stocks, right? Well, when this happens, they usually have a board of 5 to 10 people or whatever. But in the rules of many corporations, you can actually add seats, okay? And if you've got 7 out of 10 people or 6 out of 10 people on the board that don't want to do what a big investor wants to do, and a seat at the table is dependent upon your investment level, you can actually just buy more stocks in the company so you get more seats at the table, and you can actually vote to increase the number of seats. And say like, okay, well now it's going to be a 12-person board instead of a 10-person board. Oh, and by the way, we're appointing the 2 people that now occupy those seats. So now we've got a controlling vote of 7 out of 12 instead of you guys having a controlling vote of, you know, the 6 out of 10. And it makes it so that what's called an activist investor can come in and do what's called a hostile takeover of a company. He's literally doing that to Democrat Party.
Yeah.
They're coming in when they're weakest.
How about this? Like I said, one second.
They're bankrupt post-Obama. The DNC is bankrupt.
What does it say right there on the screen?
Let me see.
Bloomberg is also the only candidate to personally donate to the DNC, giving it $300,000.
So he's the biggest point. Well, because Barack Obama, what people don't realize is, you know, yes, I lean Republican, but I don't want there to be this crappy and derelict Democrat Party, because then the Republicans will just start to suck because they'll be able to rest on their laurels.
WWE, WCW.
Yeah, exactly. You know, as soon as competition goes away, well, then everybody suffers because nobody's competing for the votes and trying to make Americans' lives better. So we need a really good DNC that's pro-American, pro-growth, pro-Americans middle class, not cronyism.
How about just fair elections and representing their constituents?
Yeah.
Can we start with pretending to represent their constituents for 1 second? Can we start there?
But see, what happened is Barack Obama was such a big charismatic leader that when he started his, it's called Progress for America PAC or whatever, all of the big donors and all the big players started donating to him personally instead of donating to the party. And he virtually left the party bankrupt. You know what I'm saying? They don't have a lot of money.
Well, also, think about this, though. Remember, there were shenanigans that went on in the finances in 2016 with Hillary as well. For a while, the DNC was an extension of the Hillary Clinton campaign efforts. I think one of the issues we're seeing in the DNC, and this is my kind of cave brain opinion take from a million miles away, but this is what I see. I feel like when Hillary got ran out of the DNC, a lot of her friends, who were probably bad people, and I don't say evil, but they weren't great, but they were very able, very capable. They knew what they were doing. They got ran out because they were corrupt. The only problem is the remaining people are essentially the stooges they brought in to do their bidding. So we have this party where the people that were kind of corrupt jerks but knew what they were doing and get things done, they're all gone. And the kind of moronic stooges they brought in to just kind of shut up and do what they're told, they're all there in decision-making powers. And you know who they're probably looking for?
Okay.
They're probably looking for the next Hillary. And I wonder if their next Hillary, their next savior, is going to be one Mr. Michael Bloomberg. I swear, the more I'm looking at this now, the more this goes on. Because I don't have it pulled up right now. Look at, I think Morning Consult does it, a running poll. Look at where Bloomberg is in Super Tuesday states. There isn't a whole lot of polls being done about this caucus because a bunch of nonsense is taking up the news. Under the caucus, the primary. Look at what's going on in Super Tuesday states. Bloomberg's already, I think, at 15 to 17% in Super Tuesday states already. And he had a Super Bowl ad. I guarantee like 1/5 of you guys saw a Bloomberg ad before this video loaded. I mean, like, he is hitting it hard depending on where you live. If you live in Iowa, New Hampshire, Nevada, or South Carolina, no way you're seeing one. But if you live in the coastal states and the big cities, you're probably seeing one.
Yeah, and I'm not a conspiracy theorist because I will always believe in human incompetence over their competent ability to exercise an effective conspiracy. But I got to tell you, it makes your point of view very believable that the establishment machine knew that they needed Bloomberg on their side for a while because he's basically been groomed to do this for the past 2 to 4 years. What did he say famously before he donated all that money to Katie Hill? He came out and he said, I'm donating this cycle purely and only to Democrats. And he said that back as a Republican before he re-registered. So he had his test cycle with the Democrat Party in which he did nothing but donate millions and millions. We're talking tens. I think he donated 200 million that cycle. Look it up. But he donated an obscene amount of money to only Democrats in the last midterm election. Then in between the midterm and the general, he switches to Democrat. And what do you know? A year later, he's coming in to bail out his new party and all of his new friends with this new ideology that he's espoused.
Well, how about, could you almost equate, and I have on screen, by the way, this is the morning consult poll that I've been running. This is the latest update. Check out what's going on Super Tuesday. Michael Bloomberg's in 3rd place. By the way, we kind of know Joe Biden, that's all phony. And the Mayor Pete legs will fall off by we get to the Super Tuesday. I mean, he is doing well there. And I think it's really important to, as you're bringing up before, that kind of hostile takeover analogy. What would you say that, I mean, when you're a big time, we've been talking, everyone's been saying this for years, when you're a big time financial backer to a candidate that wins, there's...
Well, what did Steve Bannon call it on Bill Maher?
You have to kind of, I don't know.
He said a leveraged takeover of the Democratic Party,
exactly.
Right?
But my point being, though, what's a great way to do that? But why not getting some of these these new Congress people?
Yeah.
Why not have them be people you bankrolled that are loyal to you? I mean, they know where the money came from. It was you, right?
If Katie Hill hadn't been caught with the pictures of her banging all of her staff members, she'd be a total Bloombergite right now.
I know that's your favorite story to talk about, but that aside.
Well, no, it's just a local story that we both are directly related to.
I know it's local, but I'm just saying the idea here is just that, like you're saying, that like, is that one way to take over the boardroom? Get a bunch of the House people on not on your payroll, but it's like, dude, I backed your campaign. You don't owe me, but like, hey, if you want me to back your next campaign, like, this is one of those things. How do you outlaw that? I donated money to you, and then you weren't the candidate I wanted you to be, so I didn't donate again. How could that ever be banned, right? Like, I wouldn't be. I would be so against. Like imagine if it's like, if you donate to a candidate, you're locked in. You have to donate that number forever. Like that doesn't make any sense. But when you're worth $54 billion, it means different things. It means something different when you're worth $54 billion and you say, hey, I'll give you $15 million this cycle. I'll give you $0 next cycle if you don't do what I said.
Yeah.
You don't do what I say at all. It's like the mafia movies. I definitely do not want you to do what I'm saying right now. You know what I mean? But like, there's such an implicit agreement made there.
When you get
a big donation from somebody that you weren't expecting, that you kind of, and then here we go. And how about this? All he's asking for, I'm not asking for you to make any votes in the Senate floor and the House floor. I'm not asking for you to write bills. All I'm asking you is support me in my takeover of the DNC when it's at its weakest. We're getting conspiratorial here. I'm just saying, don't write this Bloomberg thing is starting to freak me out more and more as we close in on this election. This Bloomberg thing is really starting to look weird.
Yeah, and you cannot tell me the guy that invented the Bloomberg machine that every hostile takeover of every corporation has ever depended upon, okay? You can't tell me that a guy who's done nothing but watch financial markets go up and down and financial institutions fail and succeed.
Because Mike Bloomberg.
You can't tell me that the same guy that has been seeped in the game of power and money has not looked at an opportunity beyond just being able to be president. There's a reason why he waited until now.
How about $10 million specifically to House Democrats targeted by GOP?
Oh, boom. That's what I was telling you about right there.
That's not counting the $20 million he gave to Senate Democrats as well around the same time. So yeah, I wonder if Michael Bloomberg is trying to get himself some friends in the party before he really needs them. And again, I mean, like, I love how, by the way, I just love that. A Bloomberg 2020 ad ran before the embedded Michael Bloomberg speech on, or is that actually live or is that a clip? Either way, that's obviously not live. That's when he announced he was running for president. But it's, like I said, I don't want to get into the conspiracy theory here, but who benefits from 2 disaster caucuses? Well, the guy who's not even on the ballot, probably.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it looks like we're going to see a second disaster
And he'll
caucus.
come in, and what do you know? What if, I bet you Bloomberg Inc. could make a successful app. You know what I'm saying? After all, they already report the news and they already report all the entire financial sectors.
At the bottom of the app, would it have to say, like, full disclosure, Michael Bloomberg is running for the 2020 Democratic ticket?
I mean, this is literally a movie script, Cody. Like, this is like a bad Tom Clancy had an unfinished novel. So the script writers over at Warner Brothers decided they were going to finish it and make a movie out of it for $20 million. You know how, like, who's the guy that wrote Jason Bourne? How he had like 5 or 6 unfinished novels, and now somebody bought the rights to him and they're trying to finish him in the way that they thought that he was going to finish them. You know what I'm saying? But they never end up being as good as the originals. I mean, this is really like just a bad political thriller.
I mean, like,
a very
beam those
predictably
stories
bad
into your
political
heads
thriller.
from space. Like, yeah, it's because that's what happens, dude. That's where the stories come from. These things happen, and we might be seeing it happen again before our eyes. I mean, the fact that Michael Bloomberg, you know what? That's what we're gonna have to do next. We're gonna do a video, maybe tonight in a stream. We will tally up how much money Michael Bloomberg on paper has given to the DNC itself, individual candidates, individual causes. I think it's tens of millions. Oh, sorry. I know it's tens of millions, dude.
Yeah.
Literally tens of millions all over the place, been spread out. We can talk about the ad buys. Those are big. But people owing you $3 million in the house, that's also pretty big.
Yeah. So, if there's something we missed here, please let us know. I got to stop this podcast before I get an ulcer. I'm getting like shaken. You know what I'm saying? And I can't believe that if these cats win, I'll have to trust my leukemia to their incompetence. Yeah, I'm super stoked about that. So anyway, let us know what you guys think in the comments below. Make sure you follow us on Twitter. We actually got a podcast now where we can be found on Spotify. I believe we're getting approved for Google Podcasts, and sometime in the next 24 hours, we should start being able to upload onto Apple Podcasts and so on and so forth. So anyway, whoever your podcast provider is, make sure you check them out because the audio of our videos can be now found in podcast form for all you guys that love listening to audio podcasts. This is Problem Solver Politics. See you later, you dog-faced pony soldiers.